Living abroad can look so exciting, new freedom, different places to travel, different types of foods, but nobody talks about what happens if your health changes while you are abroad. Let's talk about it. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Rabea and I live in Italy. I'm from the UK and I live in Italy and North Italy, and I've lived there for some years. I live here long term, I'm married, and I'm just basically living my life here with a chronic illness. So that's what I want to discuss in today's video, what life looks like while having a chronic illness. A chronic illness is a long-term condition typically lasting 1 year or more that requires ongoing medical attention. It can limit activities on a day-to-day basis. Let's start off with isolation. Having a chronic illness anywhere can be very isolating. Why? Because nobody understands what you are going through. And there could be 10 people with the same diagnosis, but everybody has different symptoms or feel things differently. So it can be a very isolating, thing to deal with in life in general. But to add on there, living in a different country can be even more isolating. Why? Because you're not around your support system. It can definitely be more isolating for a person. I have definitely found it isolating having a chronic illness abroad because, like I mentioned, people don't always understand what's going on, and because I look and I appear normal, people don't understand it. They have a disconnect, like, why is she doing this, or why is she not turning up for this appointment, or why they don't fully understand what's going on. So yeah, it can leave me feeling a little bit isolated. What's very important is, I think is the hardest part, is navigating a system in a different language and a completely different system to what you have in your home country. I remember, this is before I met my husband Gabri, this was probably within the first 6 months of moving to Italy. I was at home in my place where I lived, and I was in so much pain that I said to myself, what should I do? I'm here, I'm alone, what am I going to do? I think at the time my flatmates had gone away for the summer. They had all gone away and I was in the house alone. And I was thinking, God, what am I going to do? So in the end, I decided to go to a hospital. And luckily, I lived in the center of the city, and the hospital was probably a 15-minute walk away. So I got up in the middle of the night, I think it was, early hours of the morning. And I walked to the hospital. And then I got seen to at the hospital there. It was a very scary experience. Scary, yeah, it was scary. It was nerve-wracking. I think more nerve-wracking, and I think the biggest thing that made me nervous, anxious, was the language barrier, that they was not going to be able to understand what I was going through, or the pain that I was in. So before I had written out something on a piece of paper. I had written it out or typed it out, and then I printed it off, basically what the pain I was feeling. I translated it all in Italian so that the person could understand it when I went to A&E. And then luckily I waited for many hours, and it was a good experience. I did worry for no reason. Being sick in a different country can definitely be very sobering. Why? Because you have to learn to be vulnerable. You have to learn to communicate with people and rely on other people. And if you're the type of person that probably moved from a different country, say alone, like I did, and you're independent, you've always looked after yourself. I mean, if you're the type of person to move from one country to another all by yourself, there's something you've got something very strong about you to leave everything and move. So being that independent and then falling sick or having some health problems where you have to rely on somebody or you have to rely on other people can definitely be very sobering. It's something to translate paperwork for you, and it's documentation that you wouldn't necessarily want somebody to see, or you're not comfortable with other people seeing, but you've kind of got to let all of that flow and all of that go. And relying on people, again, that's what you may have to do, start to rely on people. I know it definitely is hard and was more difficult before for me, but you know, I'm getting used to it. So that is something that, you know, no one prepares you for. I don't think anybody can really prepare you for that. Guilt, life struggles and drawbacks, because living with a chronic illness, like I mentioned before when I told you about gave you the definition of what a chronic illness is, it does affect your day-to-day life. And if you're new into a country, it can definitely affect you in that way, because when you're new to a country, sometimes you have to put yourself out there, you have to be a little bit more than you are in your home country, and that can be a little bit more difficult if you have a chronic illness or if you have chronic conditions. Same thing really, isn't it? For example, it might look like cancelling plans, and while you're in the process of trying to make friends, it's not the best thing to be doing is cancelling plans. I know for myself many times I cancelled at the last minute. When I say that when I go to make these plans, I'm feeling great, I'm feeling okay, but the day before, things can change. Pain might start to arise, dizziness might start to, anything can happen. That's why it's called a chronic condition. So this can then have a snowball effect on relationships and meeting people and having, a consistent relationship with people, especially if they don't know. And you don't always, when you meet a new friend, you don't always want to tell them, oh, I've got this, you don't want to look like you're dumping on the person. Or generally you just want to wait until you can trust the person before you start to disclose that you've got a chronic conditions. And a lot of people don't understand anyway, because you look okay. It's invisible, your disability. Difficult to see other expats, getting on with life, basically. They've moved to the country, they've been able to learn the language very quickly. They don't have the hurdles. They have the normal hurdles of, being an expat, but not hurdles of having a chronic illness and also being an expat and also being a foreigner on top of it. They've been able to, find work and settle down in their work and move on and be promoted and things, like normal things happening. And also they've been able to maybe learn the language a little bit easier because, their brain is like, able to take the language in a little bit easier than, say, somebody with a chronic condition. Let's talk about practical things and why this video can also be helpful to you. I've been very fortunate that I live here in Torino, and I've got really good healthcare system, and there's really good hospitals around that's in close reach. So I think it's very important to factor that in. Wherever you move, like, is it reachable? Is this place reachable to a hospital, or is it reachable for this? And if you do have any, if you already have conditions, I would say that, think about that. It probably wouldn't make sense to go and get a €1 home in the middle of Sicily. If you've got existing chronic illnesses, I would say, think ahead and think about, okay, if something was to go wrong, or if I need therapy, and I always need therapy, it's better that I move into the benefit system. In England before, I don't know about now, I know a lot of things have changed, but if you have or had certain conditions, you were able to get benefit, maybe even sometimes housing, sick benefits, etc. But here it doesn't translate, so it's not something that you can depend on, saying that you're going to get benefits, even if your chronic condition doesn't allow you to work. You're not going to be eligible. A lot of the time you're not eligible for benefits, and if you do manage to get some benefits, it'll probably be a very small amount of benefits, not benefits that you're going to be able to live on or from or whatever. So just to just bear that in mind. So basically, if you do have a chronic illness, you are still expected to work as well as manage your chronic condition. So that can be very difficult. Why am I still in Italy, you might ask? I'm still in Italy because this is life, and in life these things can happen. Sometimes you might be feeling okay and sometimes you might not. No matter where you go in, no matter where you are in life, no matter which country, nobody is exempt from sickness. So whether I'm in the UK or whether I'm here, it's this. Plus, I cannot see myself being much better off living back in England. Basically, I can't see that my life would improve. I have a wonderful network here. My in-laws, my husband, all just, it's when you make a choice to live permanently abroad, this is something that you know, this comes with the choice that something might go wrong, this might happen, that might happen. If you go to another video, my last video, I'm going to leave it up here. This is also a choice as well that you have to be okay with. So for anybody with a chronic illness or that's nervous to move abroad for these reasons because of their chronic conditions, I just want to inspire you to move, to travel, even if it's to travel, even if it's to go to the next city next door to you, or to travel for 2 days. Do it. If you can, if you're able to, don't allow it to stop you from doing what you need to do. Of course, it might take more arranging, and it definitely looks different from what the average person is doing, but it's okay. It's okay. You can still do it and do it in your way. So let me leave you on this note. Living abroad with a chronic illness is not glamorous at all, but I think it's important for me to tell you about these things and to talk about these things, because sometimes people, when they're sharing about their life in Italy or their life abroad, they show you one part, and too right, why not? But there's definitely real life going on behind those scenes. So yeah, and this is part of the real life chronic condition. If you're living abroad long term, tell me something that nobody prepared you for. I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say in the comments. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in another video very soon. Ciao. Mwah.